What a shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and sex see their election loss as a result of racism and sexism. Yes, if only we weren't so irredeemably unenlightened, we would have elected a black president by now. It's just the facts. Trump won all the swing states, all 7. I mean, he ran the table. Trump won so big. Today he called the Secretary of State in Georgia and he asked him to lose him $11,000.
Decades in comedy and television have earned Maher a reputation for dismantling political myths and taking on polarizing narratives. Known for his sharp wit and no-holds-barred commentary, Maher doesn't shy away from targeting both the left and right alike. Recently, he directed his focus on The View and MSNBC, accusing them of pushing woke lies and spreading misinformation disguised as progressive ideals. He called out what he perceives as their unwillingness to engage with alternative viewpoints, raising concerns about how these platforms influence public opinion.
Asked if racism is built into our society. White progressives agreed with that at higher levels than black and Hispanic people. Talk about doubling down on what got you in the first place. Even the one concession I've heard a few people on the losing side offer, that liberals should stop saying the Trump voters are stupid, comes with a kind of unspoken parentheses. We know they are stupid, just don't say it.
The discussion kicked off with a familiar progressive argument. Election losses occur due to widespread racism and sexism. Maher didn't hold back, dissecting this oversimplified narrative that many progressive commentators repeat without question. He highlighted how segments on The View and MSNBC clung to this explanation, shutting out other potential factors. To counter this, he referenced a Wall Street Journal article suggesting that Americans increasingly define themselves by economic class rather than race or gender. This perspective challenges the dominant progressive narrative, which tends to focus on systemic oppression over economic realities.
People can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class? I mean,
instead of addressing broader economic concerns, The View fell back on a predictable trope, blaming election losses on deep-seated bigotry. Maher took this argument apart, reminding viewers of an often ignored irony. America has elected a black president not just once, but twice. These historic achievements challenge the idea of a country irredeemably racist and sexist. Yet, rather than celebrating progress, divisive rhetoric continues to dominate conversations, framing America as perpetually entrenched in prejudice. Do you think such rhetoric does more harm than good? Let us know in the comments.
Again, I got my popcorn. I don't know why people did what they did. I see all these reasons, and so, okay. Time will tell, but what do y'all think?
I just, I know that as a country, it's very difficult for people to believe that racism and misogyny, they're just alive and well.
A message to the losers. Losers, look in the mirror. No? Well, maybe you should. Sorry. Well, that's my feeling. Losers, look in the mirror, okay? Yeah.
Maher didn't pull any punches while tackling the disconnect between progressive elites and everyday Americans. He criticized Sunny Hostin's repeated claims that racism and misogyny are the defining forces in American society. While acknowledging that these issues do exist, Maher argued that they don't always take center stage in voters' minds. He pointed out that economic struggles, like inflation, job security, and public safety, play a far more significant role in shaping voter decisions. By ignoring these pressing concerns, progressive commentators risk alienating a large portion of the electorate.
He did better, like in every demographic. The exit poll said he grabbed 52% of white women. He also got their votes.
One fiery topic in Maher's critique was the correlation between education and voting patterns. Hostin suggested that college-educated voters lean progressive, implying that higher education equates to greater intelligence. Or worse, moral superiority. Maher didn't hold back, dismantling this elitist assumption with precision. He argued that such a mindset dismisses the complex motivations behind voter decisions, ignoring the fact that intelligence and wisdom aren't exclusive to those with degrees. Do you think higher education always means better judgment? Or is this just another elitist myth?
Yeah, I got bad news for you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers' union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke.
For many Americans without college degrees, practical solutions take precedence over ideological purity. These voters prioritize tangible benefits like affordable living costs, better job opportunities, and safer neighborhoods. Dismissing their votes as less valid or less informed only widens the gap between progressive elites and working-class voters. Maher emphasized how this kind of disdainful attitude perpetuates division and undermines genuine dialogue between different societal groups.
You love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth to bullshit. The Democratic polling firm Blueprint told Democrats months ago that black voters, aka their supposedly liberal base, were more likely to find the president too liberal than too conservative.
Well, I had a different question, but it struck me that in the first segment you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Yeah.
So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized.
Maher also criticized the View hosts for their approach to debate and discussion. He highlighted how Sonny Hostin often interrupts conservative voices like Alyssa Farah Griffin, only to demand uninterrupted time for herself when making points. This kind of double standard, according to Maher, reflects a broader issue within progressive circles: the celebration of free speech and open debate, until dissenting opinions emerge. Such behavior, he argued, undermines the credibility of those who claim to champion open dialogue. Should debates be about exchanging ideas or shouting louder? Share your take.
Don't tell me the left
Or maybe the super far right.
Well, he's talking about the left. Well, then
Okay, but we talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right, and I can't say it enough. I think they're the bigger threat. But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Maher didn't stop at debating tactics. He also addressed performative outrage. While the View hosts claim to advocate for marginalized communities, Maher suggested their actions often tell a different story. For instance, he pointed out how they dismiss the Latino shift toward Trump as a failure of education or enlightenment. By doing so, they ignored the very real concerns driving this shift, such as economic challenges and public safety fears.
I mean, if I had any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left, watching people protest for a terrorist organization like that straightened me up pretty quick.
MSNBC wasn't spared from Maher's critique. He accused the network of sensationalizing stories to fit its ideological agenda, a practice that he believes fuels polarization instead of fostering understanding. By painting all Republicans as racist or misogynistic, MSNBC oversimplifies complex political landscapes, alienating potential allies and deepening divisions among Americans.
Bill, thanks so much. How long have we been doing this? I'm serious. What has it been?
I don't know. Well, you were on Politically Incorrect, right? That was the 90s when you were a congressman from Florida.
The 90s, exactly. And first show I was on, this guy stands up and points at me. He goes, "You're a racist."
Who's that? Who was it?
I forget who it was. And then you defended
me.
Did he
mean it?
Of course he meant it. But it was
he's a comedian.
I was from the South. He's a comedian. I wasn't insulted by it. I bet you stood up for me.
Well, that is a fundamental problem we've had for a long time.
Maher also delved into the risks of overemphasizing race and gender in political discourse. While these factors undeniably play a role in shaping society, he argued that focusing on them exclusively distorts the bigger picture. polling data shows that white progressives are more likely than Black or Hispanic Americans to believe racism is built into society. According to Maher, this disparity reveals that progressive narratives often reflect the guilt or anxieties of privileged individuals rather than the lived experiences of marginalized communities.
They also found that voters didn't just want Harris to distance herself from Biden. They wanted her to distance herself from what they believe the entire Democratic Party has become, a Portlandia sketch.
For most voters, systemic oppression isn't their primary concern. Instead, they care about practical, everyday issues: affordable groceries, stable jobs, and reliable public services. Maher warned that by ignoring these priorities, progressive commentators risk alienating the very people they claim to represent. He highlighted the Latino shift toward Trump in border districts as a striking example of how progressive narratives can backfire. Residents of these communities, he noted, have long voiced concerns about challenges like illegal immigration, only to be dismissed by Democratic leaders and media outlets.
A bunch of privileged mean girls complaining about privilege and trying to make fetch happen. What a shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and sex see their election loss as a result of racism and sexism.
When Trump directly addressed issues like immigration, many Latino voters saw him as a pragmatic choice, even if they didn't agree with all his policies. Instead of grappling with this reality, progressive commentators framed these voters as misguided or complicit in their oppression. Maher argued that this refusal to engage with dissenting perspectives only deepens divisions and fosters resentment among voters. Do you think ignoring dissenting opinions strengthens or weakens democracy? Let us know in the comments.
Sexism? Hillary got 3 million more votes than Trump, which in a normal country would be called a victory. It wasn't 21st century sexism that prevented a woman from being president. It was the Electoral College. Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office, but they do. They live here.
Maher concluded with a stark warning about the dangers of woke lies and misinformation dressed as progressivism. He highlighted how exaggerated claims, whether about voter suppression or systemic racism, undermine trust in the media and fuel public cynicism. These distortions, according to Maher, don't just damage credibility. They also harm the progressive cause by alienating potential supporters.
Just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them. Black people, they're just like us.
If progressives want to win back trust, Maher argued, they need to confront their flaws honestly. This includes embracing diverse perspectives, addressing practical concerns, and moving beyond divisive narratives. Maher's critique of The View and MSNBC underscores a larger point. By clinging to unproductive rhetoric and dismissing dissent, progressive commentators risk losing touch with the very voters they aim to represent. What kind of leadership do you believe America needs now? Is performative outrage the problem? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the conversation. Let's talk about what really matters.